Hello and welcome back to Retropiece Theater right here on the GNN Gaming Network. This is Retro here, coming to you live on a Thursday night. I hope all of you are doing well. Before I get going, I do want to give a special thank you to Geek News Now for giving me a chance to stream on their platform. If you aren't familiar with Geek News Now, you should head on over to geeknewsnow.net and check out all of our cool articles and awesome content coming to you every single week. And if you also aren't familiar with our YouTube pages, we have two, count them two now. One of them is the Geek News Now YouTube page, and the other one is one exclusively for GNN Gaming. See, if you happen to miss our streams when we come live on Twitch and you want to catch the replay, well, they only stay on Twitch for so long. So head on over to GNN_gaming to catch live replays of all of our catch recordings of all of our live games. I'll get it right here in a second. I hope everybody is having a wonderful time, and whichever platform you happen to be coming to me live on, whether it be Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, or anywhere else in the multiverse, be sure to say hello. I will see it right here on my screen and would love to chat with you. Here we go. We now continue our session into Pokemon Gold. Boop. All right. I gotta remember what we were doing. I don't 100% remember what I was doing. Oh, that's right. I had a power outage and lost my save material. So we gotta go back. We gotta do some of this again. It's terrible. It's horrible. But that just means more Pokemon. If you happen to be in the chat, happen to be watching the stream, do be sure to say hi. Don't leave me talking to myself. It's going to be a very long evening if I have to talk to myself. I'll just tell random stories. And I got a lot of random stories. Josh Malcock in the chat, coming in off Facebook. Let's go! Hey, buddy, welcome. Thank you for joining the stream. I'm sorting Pokemon cards while you're playing this. It's fitting. Yes, yes it is. I have a confession to make. As big of a Pokemaniac, Pokefan that I am, I haven't done anything with playing the Pokemon trading cards in like 10 years at least. Way behind on that. Josh says, I should. I would. But there's two parts to that. Number one, I got no one to battle or trade with. And two, I spend all of my time streaming for you lovely people. I should ask, what generation of cards are you sorting? Benjamin Cross, you like my stream frame? I love this thing. It's so sweet. I think the Pokédex and the way it looks is quite fitting with the retro feel of the games. But I love it because it's got that retro Pokédex look, but it could work with any generation of any Pokemon game. I love it. It was made by Twin Nova. One word, Twin Nova, but all together. And if you just Google Twin Nova, I couldn't tell you his website off the top of my head, but if you Google Twin Nova, you'll find some really awesome stream overlays that he's made. And this one came with a lot of options. In fact, it was really hard to narrow down like which frame and overlay that I wanted. Just almost as sexy as you in that Quilava. Well, thank you, Benjamin. Oh, geez, no, I'm blushing on camera. Look at that. Thank you. It's all Quilava, though. Makes me look hot. Get it? Because he's fire type. I've got to dial in my the sensitivity of my green screen. It's I'm trying not to show my teeth because it's actually the inside of my mouth that for whatever reason it's thinking is green, and the inside of my mouth isn't green. But for some reason it thinks my mouth is some shade of green. Maybe it's a reflection of one of the lights or something, but it's like removing. It's quite embarrassing. So just ignore that. I'll pull a Freddie Mercury and just keep my mouth behind the microphone. Yeah, it really sucks. I got knocked back like an hour of gameplay. Or no, not quite that much. Maybe 20 minutes worth max. Because we had a random power outage in my area. Which, it's Florida, that happens from time to time. You just get random power outages for absolutely no reason. See, you guys are gonna make me start talking to myself before I go crazy. I'll start telling random stories. Random embarrassing stories. Nobody wants that. Nobody wants that. They may not even be about me. They may just be random embarrassing stories about other people. Maybe they'll be about you. Who knows? The proverbial you, whoever might be watching this. George Stewart coming in on YouTube. Hey, George. Welcome to the chat. I'll tell you a story. Alright. So here's the story of how I have a 2-inch wide scar in my left thigh. It's an embarrassing one, but it's a fun one. So, rewind, I don't know, about 13 years or so. I'm like 19, 20, somewhere in there. I'll say about 19. And I had a dog, Snoopy was his name. He was a Beagle Lab Hound Dog mix. Love that dog. Anyway, Snoopy had an outdoor kennel, right? Big 12 by 12 kennel, overhang, real nice dog house. I mean, this thing was, he actually had a kennel bigger than my bedroom. And nights when it was nice, you know, he'd sleep out there. And I lived in the city, in the middle of Indianapolis. And it wasn't super uncommon for people to occasionally like cut through my backyard, because the area I grew up in, it wasn't bad, but it wasn't great. And sometimes people would cut through, which was annoying, and it would set my dog off, right? Well, about 3 in the morning or so, I hear him going off in the backyard, just losing his mind, barking, yelping, the kind of, you know how they say, like, when you become a parent, you learn how to, like, tell the different cries that your children make. Same thing with dogs. You can tell the difference between, hey, I'm hungry, let me out, or hey, you whatever, hey, you know, hey, get away from me. You know, you can tell the different barks. Well, this was definitely one of those get out of my backyard kind of moments. And I thought, okay, if it's somebody back there, maybe they'll just run away. Maybe they won't. I don't know. Well, several minutes goes by and he hasn't stopped. He's still going. Still just as intense, and he's mad. So, hang on, I gotta pay attention for a second. Oh. So anyway, I'm like, all right, I'll go see what he's doing. Well, we didn't have a light in our backyard. There wasn't a light on the back of the house, so our backyard was pitch black in the middle of the night. And it was surrounded by trees, so even like street lights and stuff nearby couldn't really shine a lot of light into the backyard. Well, I'm a fire eater and a fire breather. I've mentioned that on my stream before, or at least formerly was a fire eater and fire breather. So I'm like, okay, I've got torches. I'm going to light a torch because I couldn't find a flashlight anywhere. But I knew where my torches and my equipment was. So I was like, okay, I'll do that. So I light a torch. And then I'm like, well, if there's somebody back there, I'm gonna need a weapon. Well, I didn't own a firearm at the time, but I collected swords, and I knew how to use them. And I had several that were real, or real enough that they had a real edge on them. And I had these really nice, I still have them somewhere. I had just ordered them, too. They had just arrived. These black Damascus steel short swords. Get my hands in here. I mean, they were 2.5 feet. Like, including handle and blade. They were one-handed short swords. Had a real edge, double edge. Love these swords. And I was like, okay, so picture this. Torch in one hand, sword in the other hand, right? It's 4 in the morning, so I'm in my boxers. Yep, I'm totally, you know, I just got out of bed. So, here's this image. It's kind of the ghetto where I live. Torch in one hand, sword in the other, and I'm in my boxers, and I'm pale, pasty white. You could see me at nighttime. I don't exactly blend into the darkness. If there's light, it bounces off of me, right? Well, the screen door handle was one I had to push. Well, I had a sword in my hand, like this, blade here, and I was lit torch in this hand, and I push it. And the blade is pointed down at an angle, and I step forward with my left leg, and the tip of the sword stabs into the outside of my left thigh. I don't notice it right away, right? Because I've got all this adrenaline. I'm convinced there's somebody in my backyard. I'm either going to scare him away or I'm going to get into a fight. Okay. My dog is going nuts. I go outside, and he's just going crazy. And I look around, and I stop, and I listen. I don't hear anything moving in the backyard. Just him. I look around, but I can see I don't see any movement, just him. So I go over to him to check and make sure he's okay. And just on the other side of his kennel gate was a possum. A juvenile, not a baby, but not an adult, juvenile-sized possum. Plain dead. Quite alive, but plain dead. As soon as Snoopy started barking at him, he just was going at it. So the possum rolls over and plays dead. And I was so tempted to kill that possum out of spite. Just because I was in so much pain all of a sudden. And that's the thing, I didn't even realize it. I'm suddenly in tremendous amounts of pain, and I have no idea why. And I look down at my left leg, and there's blood just pouring down my left leg to the ground. And I thought, I had initially felt when the sword made contact with my leg, but it felt like just like a scratch, like I just grazed it, right? No. Apparently I had stabbed it quite deep into my thigh. And it was so sharp, and I had such high adrenaline, I didn't even notice. And I had to be at work in 2 hours. So I put my hand over the wound, got myself into the shower, started to clean it so I could actually see it, and I had this big cut on my left thigh. Thankfully on the outside of my thigh, so it wasn't anywhere near the femoral artery or anything. It was just a flesh wound. And I stabbed yourself for a rodent. I would have shown that possum his boss. It really crossed my mind, but at the same time I also couldn't bring myself to kill a defenseless animal, just in spite. I'm not that person. It crossed my mind though. Like, I seriously contemplated his life for a second. I stitched it up myself. I grabbed a needle and I sterilized it, and I used some fishing line, and I stitched up the wound, and I gauzed it and closed it up and taped it, and I went to work. And I just changed the dressing out on it throughout the day. And yeah, that's the story of how I got the scar that's on my left leg. And now it's been long enough you can't quite see it very well. I'd have to point out the exact spot, but even then, like, with age, it's just not as visible. But yeah, that's how that happened. And the reason I didn't go to the hospital and the reason I didn't go to the ER was I didn't want to explain what happened. Because they always ask you. They're going to ask, how did you end up with a stab wound in your leg? A very clean stab. It wasn't a scratch. I couldn't say, oh, I brushed up against something. No, this was a clear stab wound. And they're going to want to, and then they might try to file a police report if I don't explain. Like, it was just this whole thing. I had all these ideas going through my head of what they might try to do. And I was like, you know what? I don't want to explain it. I don't want to tell some nurse what I did to myself and just be an idiot. So I relied on my Boy Scout, Eagle Scout survival training that I have, and stitched myself up and went on my way. And about halfway through my work day, it stopped bleeding, and I was able to control it, and yeah. So there, embarrassing story. I got lots of them. So I'm pretty much caught up to where I was at the end of my last stream. So I'm going to do a save, just in case. It's a nice day out, but I don't want to lose power all of a sudden. So somebody else in the chat shared an embarrassing story. Because I have enough to go for the next 3 hours, but I don't want to just share all of my embarrassing stories in one go. I am proud to say most of them take place at least 15 or more years ago. But not all. There's a fair amount that happened in my early 20s. I'm about to tell more embarrassing stories. I don't want to have to, but I will. now to get Bayleaf built up. Although an ice cavern may not be the best place to do that, but oh well. This should be waterfall. Yeah, I'm just missing fly. So we can teach whirlpool for alligator. Suppose I could always tell the story of the time I almost got arrested for committing a Class A felony. Or a Class B felony, excuse me. Yeah, until I was about in my 30s, I was not a, I wasn't really a role model. I was more of an example. All the things you shouldn't do. How nice of them to let me know. Oh, I mentioned that I committed a Class B felony, allegedly, and no one bites? Wow. My Twitch chat's asleep. That's like one of the most interesting stories about me. Next to stabbing my leg over a rodent. Ah, come on. Messed that up. I think I can save it, though. Yeah, I can save it. Oh, Akashi Azri on Facebook has liked the stream. Thank you very much. If you like the stream, tell your friends. If you don't like the stream, tell your priest. Super excited. There's a few of you in here who are listening right now. I am very excited because the new Pokemon Snap comes out next week. And I, as long as everything falls into place, should be doing a day one release stream of the new Pokemon Snap. And I'm super excited to do it too. So that's going to be I mean, I'm streaming like normal next week anyway, so Tuesday will be Xenogears, Thursday is going to be Pokemon Gold, because I'm likely not beating this tonight. And then on Friday, which is the actual day the game comes out, I will be in the afternoon. I don't know what time. So if you want to find out when I'm doing that for sure, because I don't have the time picked yet of when I'm doing it, you should definitely subscribe to our channel, because every time we go live, you'll get a notification on the app. I want to say it's probably going to be around 5 or 6 Eastern Standard Time, somewhere in that range. I don't quite know yet when I'm going to do it. Mooglenator in the chat. Hyped. I've been waiting 2 decades for the new Pokemon Snap. You and me both, brother. Yeah, I'm excited about it too. It looks really good, and here's the thing. I mean, just like 3 weeks ago, I did a 100% run of Pokemon Snap 64 on here, right? And as great of a game as that is, and as much as I love that game was actually a little bit of a disappointment back in the day when it came out, because why am I using poison powder? Not even paying attention. Because you only have 63 total Pokemon to take a picture of, which the concept of the game is solid, and you could do some really neat stuff, and there were some really cool things you kind of, to get all the poses, you had to get really creative with like using the different objects. But ultimately, yeah, it was pretty crazy. But the fact you can only do 63. I just received a text message I need to respond to. So we're going to pause for just a moment. While we're pausing for just a moment, I would suggest going over to geeknewsnow.net and check out what's going on over there. And I will be back in just a moment. Please hold. I apologize for the delay. Thank you for holding. All right. So as long we were talking about the Pokemon Snap, as long as there's at least a couple hundred Pokemon to get pictures of, which I'm sure there will be because we're pushing 1,000 right now. I don't see why not. You know, why this one coming up shouldn't be, you know, really impressive. And in case anybody is wondering, I do not expect to complete it in the stream time. So we'll just get as far as we can in the time that we have. Did I print any of the stickers at Blockbuster back in the day with kiosk? No, I remember that being a thing, but I never did. I don't even remember all the details about that. Didn't you take your cartridge in, and wasn't it a thing where it read the cartridge and you could print the picture? Was that what it was? I'm trying to remember how it was that it did that. Or was it just a regular kiosk? I was thinking there was a way to actually print the pictures that were in the game, but I could be thinking of something else entirely. That's what it was? Yeah. Hey, Haunter, welcome to the chat. Good to see you, buddy. Of course, you're over here talking about Blockbuster, and there's going to be an entire generation of people who see this stream that have no idea what that is. Because here's the thing. I remember a few very disappointing things about Blockbuster. Because I remember VHS tapes, right? And they'd always put, like, the box for the actual VHS tape box, which is like that thick, right? Like this 1.5-inch thick box on the shelf. And they would put the you know, whatever behind it. And I remember it was really disappointing. You'd go there and you'd look for a particular movie, and you'd go to move the box, and there's no tapes. There were none. DVDs were worse. Have I seen the last Blockbuster on Netflix yet? I have not. I've been told I should, but I have not. Yeah, I remember like Blockbuster and Family Video and all those rental places. Last movie I rented as a kid was Titan AE. That's a good movie, too. I like Titan AE. For those of you who missed it, I was sharing embarrassing stories earlier. Is anybody have any in the chat they would like to share. Because I feel like I'm the only one. And I get it, embarrassing stories implies that you're probably not going to, but... A specific thing or just embarrassing in general? Whatever you consider embarrassing. The one I shared earlier, and I'm not sharing it again, so if you missed it, you'll have to go back and watch the first part of the stream, was when I stabbed myself in the leg over a possum. That's all I'm saying. You'll have to go back and watch the first part of the stream to get it. All my friends hated it because it was too slow-paced, and I got on my first fist fight defending that movie when you were 7. Fought with honor. I like it. Hey, you know what? There's not many reasons to get into fights. But every once in a while, it is a lot of fun. I've been a martial artist for 22 years. Sorry, I'm a little biased to the concept. No, in general. Don't get into fights, kids. Unless it's over a movie and then you defend it with all your honor. Can you believe I have children? Retro the Possum Killer. Yep. It really... There are days I look back and go, you know, that possum is likely dead by now, just because of how much time has passed since it took place. There are days where I look back and go, you know, it almost would have been satisfying. But I didn't. I did the noble thing. I used to think the Underground Railroad was literal, like a subway, until I was 13. I could see that. You know, I remember there was a time the term Underground Railroad seemed like really weird. Like I remember not like that not occurring to me. But where I grew up was a predominantly black and Latino school system. It was just Indianapolis Public Schools was. And so my whole life I was usually the only white guy in class. And it was always totally fine. You know, I had, you know, it was cool. You know, it wasn't anything anybody ever thought about. But I had teachers that actually marched with Dr. King. And I had teachers that lived through the Civil Rights Movement and were around in, you know, 1968, 1969, when the Fair Housing Act. They remember how their lives changed after that. So, and that was a lot of my teachers were like that. And so whenever it came time at school for Black History Month, it was always a big deal. Every class, and you know, just some of the most interesting stories. But it was, you know, I have seen pretty much if their roots, The Wiz, which nobody hate me. The only thing that was enjoyable about The Wiz was the fact that Michael Jackson was a scarecrow. I'm just gonna say it. It is. But I've also been subjected to that movie many, many times. You know, the Malcolm X movie with Denzel Washington as Malcolm X. You know, lots of historical dramas, lots of historical movies about that time period, writing papers and articles. So there was quite a discussion that went on pretty much every year of my schooling, where they covered things like the Underground Railroad, where they covered things like the Civil Rights Movement. And it's interesting to me because I grew up, I guess, in the North as a Yankee, as many people would say. Because, well, I shouldn't say as many people would say. I grew up in the North. I grew up in Indiana. It's interesting to hear from my friends who grew up in the South how things like the Civil War and the Civil Rights Movement were taught differently. Because up north, there was a lot more emphasis on the racial issues, which were real. And that was a real thing. I'm not saying that they aren't. But that was the heavier influence, was the racial issues that went on during the civil rights movement. And when you look at things like the Civil War specifically, how that's taught from a point of freeing the slaves. And talking to friends of mine that grew up in the South, it was taught more as a, yes, that's part of it, but there was also this whole situation of lands rights and space. And I recognize that this is all a very sensitive topic in the social community right now, and I'm not trying to get into any kind of social commentary on it. But you mentioned the Underground Railroad, and it got me thinking that I grew up in a community where that was around people who lived through the Civil Rights Movement and some of the worst parts of the 20th century's racism. So a lot of interesting stories that I grew up hearing from people. It's pretty cool. There was a woman who came to my, I want to say, 7th or 8th grade class. She has a picture. She was a Jew, and she has a picture of her as a little girl sitting on Hitler's lap. Because Hitler actually really liked children. He liked children and dogs. Yep. Googlenator, yeah, I'm a history degree holder, and a lot of the textbook publishing companies tend to market their social studies books differently based on region. Yep, there is a book that got published. I have no idea if it was published. I've only ever seen it in a few stores, and last time I saw it was in Indiana. But the book was called Lies My History Teacher Told Me. And the truth about history is written by the winners. And history doesn't catch the full, history books don't catch the full snapshot of everything that happened. You have that book. It's on my list. I've seen it many times. I keep telling myself, oh, you're going to get it, and I just end up not doing it. But, yeah, it was interesting to learn how much of the history I was taught as a kid was absolutely incorrect. It was assigned to you in one of your university classes. That's awesome. It amazes me. Okay, so I remember there was a time when we thought that the idiocy of people was due to lack of access to knowledge. So pre-internet, right? We thought people's ignorance, and maybe they just weren't educated, maybe they just weren't informed of the truth of the world. Well, now we have the entire world's access at our fingertips, And people are just as ignorant and stupid. We have access to so much history and all sides of it, and we have access to the good, the bad, the ugly, and it's all there. And you would think people were experiencing things for the first time and just had no clue. And it absolutely astounds me. Because we have no reason to not know what's happening in the world around us. And so many people just have no clue. And just like have no clue, I have no idea where I'm going in the game at the moment. I'm just going. Gotta be careful, you're gonna get me on it. See, I love history. I absolutely love history. And I'll switch gears with it. How about this? Well, I'll switch gears off a less sensitive, socially sensitive topic. I'm an artist, right? And I've been in art classes since I was like 4. From like 4 to 18, I was in art classes. My junior year, I had a wonderful, it was 2 periods of my day was art history. And the teacher I had, Mr. John Laprise, long retired now. John Laprise was probably one, if not my most favorite high school teachers at Broad Ripple High School. And, he took this approach that he believed not just studying, because a lot of people would look at the history of a painting, just to use the Mona Lisa as example, just off the top of my head, and go, oh, this is Mona Lisa, and here's the history of the Mona Lisa. Mr. Laprise looked at also examining what was happening in the world at the time, that might influence why the artist would paint that. It wasn't just looking at the history of a painting or looking at the history of the style the painting was done in. He believed in looking at the cultural and world impact of whatever was going on that influenced the painting. And so it gave this whole new light when we were studying the Renaissance, because it was like, this is what was happening during the Catholic Protestant Reformation, during the when Constantine established Christianity as the world religion, whatever it was. And then it was like, how do you see the history reflected in the artwork? It was very fascinating. And so I learned how to spot in artwork not just, oh, he's using this technique or this material, this type of paint on this material, whatever. But I also learned how to spot clues that would give more depth to what was happening in the world. It was easily my favorite class. And it was funny because that year there was very little artwork actually done, because it was 2 periods a day of studying art. And sometimes we would reproduce pieces, we would try to learn the techniques that were being done or whatever or whatnot. And that, was, oh, this is where I am. That was really cool. And he would give us random history facts with it too. It's kind of like every once in a while you get that one teacher that comes along you remember for the rest of your life because of the impact they had in, you remember that history, you remember that teacher because of not just the impact they had on you as a teacher and what they taught you, but the impact they had on you as the type of person you see yourself wanting to be. Having a teacher like that taught you as a student to see a bigger picture in the world and to look at all of the context to understand the snapshot in front of you. I think that's a lesson a lot of people could learn. And I remember it being probably one of the most beneficial lessons I learned, because things are rarely so black and white. I'm glad you enjoyed the historical detour. Get me going on a topic, I'll run long enough. I just gotta be careful. Because I am an extremely opinionated individual. For those of you who don't know me. I pursued history because my high school history teacher. In fact, I saw him a few weeks ago for a barbecue. He's a mentor. That's awesome. That's awesome. Jordan coming in on Facebook. Hi, Jordan. Welcome to the chat. That's awesome that you've kept in touch. I've got a couple teachers I've kept in touch with. One of my ROTC instructors, Sergeant Lanham. I've kept in touch with him off and on over the years. I'm convinced he won't die because he'd be... Well, actually, it was actually his phrasing, I believe, that he'd become basically, he'd take over hell. I loved that man to death. He was such a great teacher. But Army through and through. But that man is the reason I wanted to go. He really helped influence my reasons for wanting to go into the military. He's a good man. And I've kept in touch with him off and on over the years, and he's still kicking. He's too tough to die. But I think the hope of any mentor or teacher would be one where, and I've had teachers tell me this, that, their goal is to impact, even if they just impact the life of one student, that's worth it. All right, so we've had a couple embarrassing stories. I've got a few people in here. I brought it up earlier. I like telling this story because it's so stupid. Hi, Wolf Angel. Welcome to the chat. It's such a stupid story, but here we go. When I was 18, I allegedly committed a felony. Here's how that happened. I had a buddy. I'm not going to say his name. He's not in the chat, but I'm still, you know, not going to say his name. We get together every weekend. Basically, when I got a car and I had a job and I had some of my own money, we would get together, not every weekend, but we'd get together like 1 weekend a month. You know, he lived about an hour or hour and a half north of me in Indiana, where he went to college, right? And I will say he went to Purdue. And if you are familiar with Purdue University, which is like one of the largest engineering schools in the country, the statute of limitations probably expired. It has. Oh, it's long expired, but still. I can honestly say I was never convicted of a felony. I can honestly say that. I used to say that as a joke. Have you ever been convicted of a felony? Well, I was never convicted. No, I actually can't say that now. And in case my parents here come across this stream, they already know this story. So anyway, I don't know if they remember it, but I did tell them at one point at a later date, long after it happened. Anyway. So, where was I? Oh, yeah. So he and I would hang out like 1 weekend a month. I'd go up there and, I would bring a case of Mountain Dew with me, because that was what we drank. You know, we didn't drink alcohol, we didn't do drugs. And, we would just we were two lonely guys. We couldn't get dates to save our lives. We couldn't get girls to talk to us to save our lives at all. Believe it or not, I was not a hit with the ladies. Not always. At least. Anyway. I, got this crazy idea one Friday night. See, there's this party going on at the apartment next door to his. And see, Purdue University is so big that basically it is the town of West Lafayette, okay? And they have a lot of properties that are campus housing, but they're off campus, right? So, you know, it was a place where students, you know, you could get apartments, but you were technically off campus. But, I mean, Purdue's campus was big enough to have its own McDonald's. That's how big it was. 30,000, 40,000 students went there. Massive, massive college. Anyway, so he was there for engineering. Well, like I said, we couldn't get a date. We're hanging out on a Friday night. We hear this party going on at the apartment across the way. Now, he knew the guy who lived there. And there's this raging party. We can hear it through a couple closed doors in the apartment we're in. And it's about 11 o'clock at night. And I don't remember which one of us had the idea first. Probably me. I think it was me. We should pretend to be police officers and go knock on the door and mess with the guy. Because, Mark knew him. Oh, there I go, saying his name. I tell the story, I use his name all the time. He doesn't care. He knew him. And, we're like, this guy would find it funny, right? So, we knew we couldn't actually pass as police officers. So I was like, all right, well, let's take stock of what we have and let's see. So we go in his closet, and he had a trench coat and a fedora. I'm in pajamas, all right? I have a trench coat on, fedora. I look like Dick Tracy. I look like a homeless Dick Tracy. We print off the most cartoonish-looking police badge we can find online. We cut it out, and we put it in an empty billfold that he had, so that I could do this kind of thing, right? And we were like, all right, let's go have some fun. Well, me being the consummate performer that I am, decided I would be the one to go knock on the door. Hi, Lego Vader. So I go knock on the door. the music goes dead silent. You just hear this. It goes dead silent. But nobody opens the door. And I'm standing just left of the people. Who is it? And I was supposed to say, private eye, private detective, right? Because I wasn't, and what came out of my mouth was, police. And then I went, oh crap. Show us your badge. So I flash it in front of people. And I hear, show us again. I said, no. I said, yeah, we received some noise complaints from your neighbors about your party going on. Can you open the door? No. Then they called the cops. And I can hear them. Somebody on the other side calling 911, saying that there's somebody outside their apartment impersonating a police officer and harassing them. We hear this. We start losing our minds. We're trying to explain through the door. There's a girl on the other side of the door. She's relaying this information on. And I have no idea. I'm so turned around. She's trying to explain to the guy on the other side of the door that, hey, this is who we are. We're joking. We're going on. We don't even finish trying to explain and account for ourselves before the door. I'm on the second level landing in front of the door. The stairs are directly to my left down. Till the door opens at the bottom and two police officers come up in the process of drawing their sidearms. Because they have no idea what they're walking into, and I don't fault them for it at all. They have no idea what they're walking into. They hear somebody's impersonating a police officer and harassing them. They're ready to shoot, right? They have every right. They come up the door, and I turn, and I've just kind of got my hands up like this. And they kind of put it back in the holster, but don't take their hands off of it. And they were like, are you a police officer? And I said, nope. And they said, do you have any firearms on you? And I went to, with my fingers, open my jacket like this to say no, which apparently was the very wrong thing to do. They grabbed, one of them took each of my arms, literally dragged me down the stairs, threw me against the wall, and patted me down. Now, this is all perfectly legal, and they were totally within their right to do this, right? Because, again, this is a felony situation. I have broken the law at this point. There's nothing on me. They turn me around, they put handcuffs on me, and they sit me down. I'm losing my mind. They've taken they got my wallet, they got my ID, they're running my ID to make sure that, you know, I haven't committed a felony and this isn't a thing. More officers start pouring in, then a dog shows up. Apparently, the entire West Lafayette Police Department, including the lieutenant, showed up that night. There were, I believe, 9 cop cars, 3 canine units, and the lieutenant showed up at this little apartment building. So now everybody is peeking out of their doors, peeking out to see what's going on. They go upstairs to talk to the people in the apartment. They take my buddy, they take him upstairs even further. I cannot hear what they're saying to him. I am crying at this point. I'm sitting here crying on the floor. I'm 18, convinced I'm about to go to jail for a very long time. This officer to my right is being a jerk about it. He actually looked at me and said, quit crying, it's not manly. And I'm like, I don't want to go to jail. He's like, oh, I'm just waiting. I'm happy to take you to jail. And just whole thing, just goading me this whole time. And I'm just sitting there, just silently crying. The lieutenant walks in. This old, grizzled police officer. Gray hair. Look, it's now midnight. I think I got him out of bed, is what it comes across. Like, that's kind of how he looks. He's had a long day. He comes in. His side is to me. He just looks at me. Doesn't say anything. Goes up the stairs. Goes to the apartment. I can see up the stairs to the door. He looks in. Sees the officer taking statements. Goes upstairs. I imagine he did the exact same thing. Apparently, I come to find out a little bit later on, Not only was the guy who owned the apartment not there, his friends were throwing this party in his place, or his roommate or somebody. Ultimately, the guy that my buddy knew wasn't even in the apartment, and there was a lot of underage drinking going on. So they also kind of called the cops on themselves. The lieutenant comes down the stairs. He stops. He doesn't even look at me. He's just facing straight ahead, shoulder. Yeah, I'm looking at his shoulder. And he just says, "You're an idiot. I'm not going to arrest you because I would have to arrest everybody. However, what you've done is a felony. I will have to file it with the district attorney. If they choose to press charges, we'll be back in the morning with a warrant for your arrest. Don't leave town." And then he walks out the door. The officer next to me, who's been goading me this whole time, was legitimately upset they weren't taking me to jail. He took the handcuffs off, and he was just like, "You're stupid, Lucky," and just walked out the door. He was so mad they weren't arresting me. They left. Everybody leaves. Everybody kind of... I'm not even looking up, just kind of sheepishly. People go back into their apartments. They go back in. The party dies. We killed the party. That died. Me and my friend go back in our apartment. And we are shaking. We didn't sleep the whole night. We didn't sleep at all the whole night. And, I remember we were sitting there, we actually said a prayer that this would all just blow over and be done. And, yeah. The next morning, we were both had such high anxiety about everything that we couldn't even focus on what we were doing. Like, kind of like I'm not even really paying attention to what I'm doing on the game here, because the story's way more fun. And, the next morning, we haven't slept. Nobody's come and knocked on the door. We're like, we got to get out of the apartment. They said not to leave town, so what can we do here in town without, like, being an issue? Whatever, if they come back. So I remember the weekend. It was the weekend Ghost Rider had come out. The Nicolas Cage first Ghost Rider movie. And I was like, look, why don't we go to the movie theater? That's like a block away. It was real close. I was like, let's go see a movie. So we left a sign on our door that just said, "To whom it may concern, we're going to see this movie at this time. We'll be back," whatever. You know, because we didn't want them thinking that we, like, bailed, right? Should they come back for us. We were trying to be honest, good people here. And, you know, law-abiding. We were trying at that point to be law-abiding citizens. So we went to go see the movie. And we enjoyed the movie. And then we came crashing back to reality, and we got back to his apartment. Nobody had been there. The sign was still on the door. I hung out there the rest of the day. And I left town the next day. They had my driver's license, so they had my address. They knew where I actually lived. Nobody ever came. And the statute of limitations wore out, I think, 13 months after the incident. So I waited 13 months and 1 day before I told the story to anyone. Just in case some police officer overheard it and got froggy. So yeah. I'm not proud of it. I was an idiot teenager. But that's one of the more embarrassing. They knew you went to see Ghost Rider and decided you had suffered it. You know, I didn't hate the first one. I felt like the graphics could have been done better the first one. I didn't hate it, but definitely not as good as I felt like they could have done with it. That's for sure. This is what happens when you don't get the map. I don't remember where I know I'm supposed to go to Goldenrod, but I don't remember how I'm supposed to get there. I'll go back for the map. So yeah, I was really, really fortunate. And that's actually not the first time I've done that, not that exact thing, but, now I guess I might as well say it now. It's funny, the more embarrassing the stories go, my streamer count goes up. I should just keep at this. This should just be what I do. Just tell really embarrassing stories about myself. I'm gonna talk to this guy because he's gonna give me a map, and then I'll know where I'm going. So, while he does his thing, because this is all auto scroll anyway. A few years goes by, and I'm hanging out. This is good content right here. How'd you just make this a thing? Just pick a story and just tell it while I'm playing Pokemon. So a few years goes by. I'm hanging out with some people that I know, some friends, and I'm like the oldest person there. But it was like I didn't have a lot of friends that were like my age. I had friends that were a couple years younger, or I was friends with like older upperclassmen, right? Well, this was a group of kids I went to church with, and I was there as kind of the role model, I guess. Not really sure. Probably not the right person for that. So, all these people were there, and younger, a year or two younger than me at the time. Maybe I think from like 16 up, right? And there was a girl who was there who was like friends of one of the people who was there. She wasn't somebody I went to church with, but she was friends with somebody. Anyway, she was there, but she wasn't somebody I knew. Well, we were playing a very PG-friendly, Christian-friendly Truth or Dare, right? And it was crazy stuff. Like, I got dared to eat a sandwich, but they could put anything. Everybody got to put one thing on the sandwich, whatever they wanted, right? And I had to take a bite of it. I will never fall for that again. I'm not even gonna go. It will make me vomit again just telling you what was on this thing. That the combination of things they put on this was horrific. So, anyway, I keep getting notifications on my. Alright, there's Goldenrod. Which was your first Pokemon? Did you choose Charmander, Bulbasaur, or Squirtle? I'll come back to that. So anyway, we're tell us I spent channel points. My first Pokemon was Bulbasaur. Very, very first Pokemon that I ever chose when I've played this, the very first time on Pokemon Blue, was Bulbasaur. So we're playing a very PG, Christian-friendly version of Truth or Dare. And this girl, who I didn't know, but was a friend of a friend, she got one where you had to prank call your parents. Her parents happened to be out of town, and she was staying the night at her friend's house. And so there were adults at this thing. There were parents of kids there, and everybody thought this would be hilarious. I had the idea, and everybody thought it would be hilarious, right? Since I can do some voices, and I decided to pretend to be a police officer, giving very bad news, not death news, but just news to the parents. So I had her pull up her parents' cell phone number, and I called from the landline of the house we were at. Okay, and I just I played it off. I was like, yeah, I don't remember the last name. I'm just gonna go with Smith. I said, yeah, is this I got the mom. Is this Mrs. Smith? Yes. Well, this is Sergeant Stewart down here at the Greenwood Police Department. Is your daughter Sarah or whatever it was? And she goes, yeah. I said, well, Sarah was picked up wandering around some neighborhoods late at night. Somebody's gonna have to come get her. I've got her right here at the station. She's sitting right in front of me. I'm trying to run from battle. And she was like, we're out of town. I put her on. She is livid. She bought it. So I hand the phone to her daughter. And I'm like 3-4 feet away. She is tearing into her daughter, her 16-year-old daughter. And her daughter's trying not to laugh because everybody here knows it's a prank. Right? So, she is just lighting her daughter up. I can hear it, and just, we're gonna have to, your father's already looking at flights back just to come get, and so I grabbed the phone back, and I was like, ma'am. She was like, what? I said, it's a joke. we're pranking you. I'm so sorry. I didn't think you would get this upset. She then tore me apart. And I'm trying not to laugh because I know that it's gonna be fine. She's threatening to call the cops on me for pretending to be a police officer to call her. And the only thing that went through my head was, oh no, not again! The mom who was hosting all of this gets the phone and calms her down and was like, no, everybody's here. We knew it was a joke. We weren't going to let it get out of hand. But she talks her down. But yeah, that was that was the last time I ever did that, to be clear. I'm a slow learner of lessons sometimes. Yeah, good times. Yeah. That's right, I know this is the content you all love and came for. I get in so much funny trouble pretending to be a cop. Well, let me tell you, it's not that funny when you're on my end of it. Like, in retrospect, it's hilarious. And it's that whole thing of, what's the saying? Tragedy plus time equals comedy. You know, all of these things happened a very long time ago. So now I can look at it and go, well, I didn't get arrested, so, you know, it's fine. It's fine. I know where I'm at now. So yeah, until I was pretty much in my late 20s, early 30s, I just told people that I wasn't a role model, I was an example. Yeah, I went under a fake name to get into a club. That's classic. That's classic. It's so funny. People have asked me, like, why I never did drugs and stuff in high school. It's because I was never cool enough to get invited to go to parties where that was there, so it was never, like, an issue for me. It was never, like, I never had peer pressure like that to deal with, because I didn't have that many friends. I was the geeky, nerdy kid that got beat up and shoved in lockers. I got pushed down a flight of stairs once. You know, I got into actual fist fights. Just people would pick fights with me because I was a nerd. You know, so I never like went anywhere cool or got invited to go do crazy stuff. Like, I didn't even go my junior prom. The girl I went with went as my friend because I was totally friend zoned. Even though I was crazy about it, I was totally friend zoned. And my senior year, I didn't even go because I didn't have anybody to go with. And I was like, I'm not about to go stag to my senior prom when literally everybody knows that I can't get a girl. I don't need to reinforce that. Yeah, that was, so yeah, I never did anything crazy in my life until I was, definitely old enough to know better on some things. Other things I just never went on to do anyway. You know? But you had to work at your family's video rental store for prom night. Well, I don't think you missed much. I know I don't really look back at my senior prom and go, oh, I wish I had gone. I know it probably really sucked at the time having to work there, but it never, it's not something I look back and miss, you know? Never had a homecoming or prom. Homecoming was fun, even though we lost every homecoming game. I'm not joking, we lost every homecoming game for 17 years straight. It was almost ritual. But the after party was a lot of fun. They would have at the school. I definitely can say that I had a lot more fun doing things when I was entertaining and performing magic shows way more often than I do now in my early and mid-20s. Because I got to go so many cool places and see so many cool people and do so many cool things. You know, I got to hang out with I got to hang out with celebrities, and I got to hang out with kind of rub elbows with socialites and perform for Fortune 500s, and it was, those were definitely much wilder years for me as far as like places I went and things I did. It was a good time. Got drunk for the first time at a wine tasting for the Democratic Party of Georgia. You were supposed to spit out the wine after each day. Yes, you are. If you go to a wine tasting, not that I have been to one, but as I understand it, the rules are you are to spit out the wine, not swallow. All right, I am at an hour and a half of streaming. I want to thank everybody who's been hanging out so far. Appreciate it. Wherever you're coming in from, whether it's Facebook, YouTube, or Twitch. If you aren't familiar with Geek News Now, you should head on over to geeknewsnow.net. See all of our awesome articles and content that comes out weekly. You should definitely go to our Facebook page, Geek News Now. There is a contest happening over at the Geek News Now that is video game themed. And I'll tell you what, I'll tell you the truth. I can't enter it because I work for GNN. I'm quite upset about that. So what I want you to do is go over and enter that contest for me, and when you win it, tell me how awesome it is. It has actually a really cool giveaway. And we've got another really cool one that's coming up for the month of May, too. Every month we're going to do a big giveaway. And here's the best part about the contest. It's free to enter. Free to enter. So you should head on over to Facebook, go to our Geek News Now page. You're already following Geek News Now on Twitch. If you're here, you're watching me. The other thing is you should subscribe to our GNN channel. Not just be a follower, but actually subscribe. The reason is because it helps us keep going. It helps us produce awesome content for you and do cool things. And if you have the Twitch app and you're subscribed to our channel, if you follow our channel, either one, you'll get notified every time we go live. And that means if me, for example, if you happen to like my content, if I go live on a random Saturday, and like maybe I'll do KOTOR, Knights of the Old Republic, or maybe I'll do something else, some other retro game that I just feel like doing for fun, you'll get notified. And next Friday, I'm going to be doing a day one release of PokéMon Snap on the Switch, the new one. And I'm going to do like 3 or 4 hours. I mean, I'm going to be on that thing for a while because I really want to get into it and play it and enjoy it. And you, if you want to watch it, you should subscribe to our channel so you find out when I go live, because I don't even know exactly what time I'm doing that yet. You know, life depending. I'll tell you what, I'll shoot for 6 o'clock Eastern time. And we'll go from there. Let's see, Mooglenator, Devin, is there a Pokemon you like conceptually that you wish was more useful in-game? Jolteon. And Flareon. I feel like those two, while Jolteon is wicked fast, I feel like he kind of... with the exception of Pin Missile, he gets shortchanged on moves. You know, he can learn electric types, but he doesn't learn them on his own for a long time. Oh, Majanium got knocked out. That's okay. And Flareon, I wish Flareon was stronger. Flareon's a great fire type, but Flareon just doesn't... You gotta really pump up... Yeah, you gotta really pump up Flareon's health stats and his attack stats. I mean, he can learn all the great moves, Fire Spin, Fire Blast, but just not as strong as I wish he was. And I think from a visual standpoint, Flareon is one of, like, aesthetically most pleasing ones to look at. Vaporeon is the best of the OG trio. That thing is HP. Yes. Water types in the first generation were overpowered. They really were. Because a lot of the water types dual-typed. Or they could learn multiple moves. Even though Blastoise didn't dual-type and stayed just water-type, Blastoise could learn fighting moves. He could learn ground moves. He could learn ice moves. He could learn all kinds of stuff that made him a real force to be reckoned with. You look at like Seal and Dugong that were water ice types. You know, almost any water Pokemon could learn moves like Ice Beam, which stood like a 30% chance of freezing your opponent. The water types in the first generation, I think, hands down, are the most OP. However, I will say that Jolteon learning Pin Missile, which is a bug-type move, makes Psychic types and Ghost types just annihilates Ghost types. Absolutely annihilates Ghost types. Water-type Pokemon also make up the most Pokemon percentage-wise. It's overrepresented. There are a lot. Especially with dual typing. However, I could make the argument that that's semi-realistic considering that water makes up the majority of the surface of the planet Earth. So it seems logical that there would be, if we're putting this in an Earth setting, so to speak, that it would be logical there are more water types than any other. And that's why Team Magma is the right choice. Team Magma? I love Typhlosion. I think he's my favorite second generation Pokemon. Definitely one of them. When Pokemon Legends Arceus comes out, I will probably pick Cyndaquil as my starter. Just because of the 3 starters they have, Oshawott, Rowlet, and Cyndaquil. I think I've played all 3 of them in their respective generations. I think Cyndaquil is going to be probably the strongest. I think he's going to have the higher attack. That's my prediction. I'm calling it. Or just go Totodile just because you can teach Feraligatr Ice Punch and yeah. Yeah. Yeah, you want Feraligatr to know Ice type moves. What are you talking about, Wolf Angel? I think they're trying to get me in trouble over here. Played TikTok, followed by last Friday night. What I like about, getting back, you mentioned Ice Punch. What I like about Ice-type moves is that they have a dual effectiveness. A lot of stuff does, but Ice, actually, I believe triple. I know for a fact Ice is super effective not just against flying, but also grass types, and I think also ground types. So, yeah, Ice moves are very powerful. Plus, you have the chance of freezing, and I'll take freeze over burn or paralysis because freeze, you don't thaw. You know, paralysis. You don't wear off paralysis or burn, but the Pokemon is still active and can still attack you between turns. But when you freeze, the opponent is completely frozen. I mean, imagine them in a block of ice. Essentially, they can't do anything. And unless the trainer has something that cures freeze, you are out of luck. So I think you know, if you had to choose between moves that would freeze, burn, or cause paralysis, I'll take freeze any day. Plus the fact of you know, it being super effective against particularly flying types. Lego Vader just now back. I never went to homecoming or prom either. Well, like, you know, my children are homeschooled, so I know there are homeschool communities that do like a pseudo prom and things like that. But generally, I mean, that kind of stuff isn't going to be around for my kids. I was the geek in high school, and this was when it was uncool to be a geek. Hey, Lego Vader, I think you and I are really close to the same age. So I get it. Yeah, I mean, okay. All right, tangent time. I love that geeks are accepted now. That, to me, is huge. And the thing that I love I'll tell you what I love about the geek community. There's a few things I love about the geek community. The geek community is one of the most accepting communities, period. Really is. We don't care about ethnicity. We don't care about religion. We don't care about politics. We care about what your dice roll when they hit the table. We care about building up our Pokemon team so we can smoke you at the next tournament. You know, we don't care. I don't have political discussions with geeks. I don't have religious debates with geeks. I don't. Do you know why? Because none of us care. That's not what being a geek is about. Being passionate about something. And everybody is passionate about something. And I will wager, and I will go to my deathbed on this, that whether they want to admit it or not, fantasy football is Dungeons & Dragons for jocks. I will stand by that. Geek is chic. Thank you. And those of us that lived through the tormenting and the bullying and the hell and the suicidal thoughts and the depression because being hated for who we were, now we're people who look at the world and go, we see that improvement because we lived through that. And I get the joy of knowing that my children don't have to go through that. That they can be as geeky and passionate about things as they please and don't have to go through that. As a substitute, I notice now that the cool kids happen to be the most academic, whether it's grades or athletics. Great. That's great. It's funny, the year after I graduated high school was the year that my school mandated uniforms, school uniforms for kids. And I look back and go, man, I'm so glad that I didn't go through that. And they weren't crazy and they weren't expensive. I mean, it was just like you had to, but everybody had to wear like blue shorts and a button-down shirt, stuff that you can get anywhere relatively inexpensively, and so on. But looking back at that, I go, I remember getting bullied because of my clothes. I remember getting bullied because of my shoes. I remember getting bullied because I was a geek. I remember all the reasons I used to get bullied, and then I started looking at, wow, slowly but surely, little changes are happening where that doesn't become a thing anymore. And kids are still going to be bullies, and people are still going to be problems. Kids can be terrible. I'll call it what it is. Kids can be cruel, but there's a reason, and I think teachers understand this, that there's a reason a child is like that. They're not just cruel for the sake of being cruel. They're cruel because it's an outlet. They're cruel because that's what they get at home. There are reasons children are cruel to other children, usually because they're the victim themselves. And that's the only way they know how to be, and that's how they just kind of take that out on the world. Black geek and went through some crap. Yeah, I told you I went to a school that was predominantly black and Latino. And I knew geeks of all ethnicities, and we all kind of hung out together, but none of us, we all got our share of crap. And they did too. And I thankfully, I shouldn't say thankfully, that's the wrong word. Because my school was predominantly black and Latino, the geeks who were black didn't get picked on for being black. There wasn't bullying over race. There was just bullying because you weren't into hip-hop and you weren't into rap. You listened to Weird Al and you played D&D. Stuff like that. So I basically became the Karate Kid, did ROTC and became a magician, and showed up your bullies. And the little Karate Kid. I was a black belt before I graduated high school. I was a second-degree black belt before I graduated high school. In Ishinryu Karate. But basically, yeah. I'll tell you when the bullying for me stopped. My senior year. Bullying for me stopped my senior year because I hit my final growth spurt, and I went to school and I was suddenly 6'2" and bigger than everybody. So if people said stuff to me, it was because it was all verbal, but the physical bullying stopped when I was a senior. Because I was bigger than everybody. And I had really long legs and knew how to run. So if it ever got physical, I knew how to get out. Even though I knew how to fight, I always ran from fights. Because I had a temper. And when my temper would get really bad and I'd get into a fight, I was always afraid I wouldn't stop myself before going too far. I had control of my temper to not engage and to get out of the fight, but I was afraid that if I let that out and I actually let loose of my control and truly fought, like full force, that I would actually hurt somebody. At one point, I had over 300 pounds of pressure behind a punch. My kicks were ridiculous at one point. I was afraid that if I actually hit somebody, I'd kill them. So I just avoided fights, and I ran from them. I would take my beatings, I'd take my lickings, and I would just lick my wounds and deal with it later. I punched the biggest bully in my senior year and had decided not to go back. I finished that year at home. There was one bully I had. He and I ended up actually ending on decent terms before I left middle school. But I'm not sure the reason he bullied me. I don't really remember. But he was quite a bit bigger than I was. A short, scrawny kid, you know, 90 pounds, 100 pounds. You know, 5'2", 5'5". You know, not tall at all for any of my life until high school. I remember we got into a fight, and I was the one who got in trouble. I was the one who... I was the white kid who beat up a black kid. That's how it was put. It was turned into a racial thing against me. Even though he was the bigger kid, and I would have no reason to start a fight with somebody twice my size. And I didn't leave a mark on him. He didn't leave a mark on me, but they saw us fighting. And he had this... As a personality, he was very good at talking himself out of trouble. And it was presented to me as me being the one who instigated and caused the fight. That I was threatening him, that I was a lot of things that just weren't true. And I remember my dad and the principal. I remember my dad getting in the principal's face and telling her down because it didn't make sense, and the kid's story didn't make sense. But it was spun into a racial thing against me. And, you know, that was 20 years ago. You know, it's not important to anything. You know, it just is what it is, and it was what it was then. But me and that kid actually ended up being civil. That was like 7th grade, and like by 8th grade we were civil to each other. Let's see. The few fights I got into, the other person got a bone broken and went face first through a window. So note to self, don't make Wolf Angel mad. I'm beginning to believe the wolf part of your name and the angel part is misleading. Lego Vader, we moved back to Texas my senior year. I finished mine at home as well. I wish I could have, to a degree, I wish I could have finished my schooling at home. If you're the only white kid in a school of minorities, and it sounds like the narrative would be stacked against you no matter what. There were a lot of my classes where I was the only white kid, or I was the only white guy. There were classes where that absolutely wasn't the case, and it was an even mix, but there were a lot of classes where I was one of the few white people in the classroom. And I never cared. I mean, I grew up with that. I never cared. I never cared about anybody. I cared about your personality. I don't care about anything else about you. You know, I dated black girls. I dated mixed girls. I had a crush on a Latino girl. I never cared. So it was so funny. I joke that for a long time I didn't know how to be in a room full of white people because I wasn't used to it. And I will tell you this, white audiences are boring. As a magician, white audiences are boring. Take note, white people, white audiences are boring. I could do the craziest magic trick for a room full of white people and they'll go, yeah, that's good, that's good. Same magic trick for a black fraternity that I did, which is one of my favorite shows that I ever did. And they were losing their minds. Just a much more responsive audience everywhere, and it was awesome. And I'm like, see, this is what I'm used to. You should have been at my pep rallies. They were fire. We had the best pep rallies. We had a black gospel choir at my graduation. The room was like a black southern revival. It was awesome. You know, and that was the culture I grew up in. It was amazing. White people, y'all boring. I'm gonna get in so much trouble on this stream. I'm gonna get a phone call from the director of GNN. Yeah, you probably should stop talking. But my fondest years in school were definitely involved around a lot of my art teacher. Well, I'm glad you're enjoying it, Mukulnator. This is the longest I've stuck around for any stream in a long time. Well, I'm glad you're here. Even just to listen to me ramble about random stories. Oh, man. Where is it I need to go? Is it this? It's this building. Let's see. I don't have a lot of other embarrassing stories that come to mind. But I will forever remember my graduation. So I was a terrible student in school, right? Just absolutely the worst. And it was because I was bored and I wasn't challenged. I know that now. And you know, and I think a lot of people my generation were like that, because it was like, I remember when I was a kid, a lot of kids that I knew were diagnosed ADD and they were just, or ADHD, and they were just given Ritalin, right? Like that was just like, here, let's give kids speed in pill form, and that's going to make them normal. And that was like the big thing in the early 90s. And kids who were considered quote unquote gifted, you know, they would use terms like gifted, and there would be specifically gifted classes, you know, things like that. It was very weird ways of classifying children's education. So I was a terrible student because I was bored and I wasn't challenged. You know, my sister was the opposite. My sister was a really good student. You know, she found ways to challenge herself. My sister's way smarter than I am, but she kind of went the other way, where it was like, okay, if it was easy, then she was going to get the good grade. My whole thing was, if it was easy, then it was stupid and I didn't need it. So I failed a lot of math courses that I could easily breeze through. You know, when I took calculus, trig, and calc 2 and statistics and all that in college, I got straight A's. It wasn't that I couldn't do the math, it was that I didn't care. I didn't see a purpose, so I just didn't try. I say all of that to say this. As a result, when it came time to graduate, I was short math credits to graduate. So I didn't actually get to graduate with my class. I had to go to summer school the summer after my senior year, which was embarrassing, for algebra, because I just needed math credits. And my summer school had a graduation for the people who were like me, who were there to get just whatever credit they needed and then graduate. And I had been to graduations at my high school because my sister graduated from the same high school I did. And they were kind of what you would expect for the most part. You know, everybody's in the gymnasium, and people are giving long-winded, boring speeches and, you know, stuff like that. And just, you know, then there's the slow walk across the stage. Mine was a little more ghetto, and honestly, some of the most fun I've ever had in my life. Like I said, we had an all-black gospel choir that was there. We had a reverend do this amazing prayer invocation at the beginning. There were what was it? We all, at one point, everybody was like standing up and we were like holding hands, like in like a kumbaya gospel spiritual moment with the music that we had. It was a blast. It was I make it sound like it was this crazy thing, but no, it was very, very interesting and a lot of fun to be at. And I remember like walking out of that graduation, like instead of feeling drained the way I did at like every other high school graduation I went to, I walked out of there like, yeah, I can go take on the world. Like, yeah, I can be a productive member of society. It was a good time. I wish all high school graduations were as cool as that one was. See, Mooglenator, in my teaching credential program, they taught us to implement material that is engaging for students of all strengths and weaknesses, and it's tough to keep kids of all levels engaged in that material. It is. It is really hard, especially because kids don't always know how to express that something isn't challenging them. They come across as just excelling well, and you look at it and go, wow, okay, they've got a good grasp of the material, but it may not occur that, maybe that kid is actually not challenged, I could not be a teacher for a number of reasons, but I could not be a teacher because hats off to teachers, substitute and not, and full-time. It's hard work. Kids suck. Teenagers suck. So if you're teaching middle school, high school material, my hat off to you. That is tough stuff, man. All right, we are at about 2 hours in, and I want to thank everybody who's been on my stream so far and chatted with me. I love this. You are always welcome to come onto my stream and say hello or yell at me or whatever you feel like doing. Beat our rival. I'm going to take about a 1-minute break because I have been talking a lot and I need to refill my drinks. So I will be back in just one moment. Don't go anywhere, ladies and gentlemen. I'll be back with more Pokemon here in just about 1 to 2 minutes. Thank you. Alright, and I'm back. Thank you for holding. Watching the stream while playing Pokemon Go. Alright, Wolf Angel, you are multitasking. You're apparently at some crazy party, listening to my stream, thank you, playing Pokemon Go. Meanwhile, I'm over here trying to beat up Team Rocket again. Oh, yeah, I forgot about this. It's a little puzzle. I'm trying to remember the order that I've got to do it in. The burglar trainer sprite they have in this area is one. Yes, it's a it's amusing. I don't know if I'm gonna end up dealing with them. I just looked up what the switch pattern was to get through. And Wolf Angel on Pokemon Go is Team Valor. You have chosen wisely. I like how blah, 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 blah. Learn to talk. I like how a kid can defeat a criminal organization simply by engaging in cockfights. Wow. I guess that's an oversimplification of events, but... Hang on, I think I did this in the wrong order. Hang on. Supposed to flip them in order from left to right. Oh, this is the burglar sprite you were talking about. Burglar Eddie. Yeah, he looks really happy. Like, it's a really happy-looking sprite. Like, if you mixed the Riddler with the Penguin. Or if the Riddler was played by Danny DeVito. Alright, time to use some stuff on my team here. No, can't use an antidote on a fainted Pokemon. Here's another one. See? It's like if the Riddler was played by a young, like Twins era Danny DeVito. Ever remember the movie Twins? He was supposedly the twin of Arnold Schwarzenegger. With the Joker's wardrobe, yep. So they say you can tell the measure of a person by where they know Tim Curry from. So what was your, if you know who Tim Curry is? I hope you do. If not, I have a lot of suggestions. Benjamin, if Gengar was a real-life Oompa Loompa. Real quick, before we go any further, just a reminder, everybody, you should definitely subscribe to our channel. Because when I go live, when any of us go live, you'll get notified. And I'm going to be going live. And we're doing a Day 1 Pokemon Snap stream next Friday. It'll be very exciting. I'm very excited to do it. Home Alone 2, Rocky Horror. Yep. Mine was Three Musketeers, where he was Cardinal Richelieu. That was my first introduction. Of course, I know him from a lot of other things. Of course, Rocky Horror Picture Show. Naturally. Home Alone 2. Yep, that's another one. Muppet Treasure Island is another one he was in. Clue. Anybody know him from Clue? Clue is one of my favorite. If I could have any Pokemon in real life, what would I choose or want? It'd be an Eevee. Wasn't he the main pirate in the Muppets? He was kind of. He in the Muppet movie. He starts out as the cook, Long John Silver, and he ends up doing a mutiny and taking over and going for the treasure himself. Yeah, he ends up. Tim Curry is the consummate bad guy. Here's one for all of you: Fern Gully. Anybody remember Fern Gully? That good old Save the Trees movie? He was the Smog in Fern Gully. I remember when we had the Clue movie at our rental store, but I never got to see it. So, funny thing about the Clue movie. If you've ever played Clue, and it's an old enough game now that I think it's meta enough that I think people know Clue. And the game Clue, you know, it always ends up being like who was the killer, you know, is it you know, and it was Mrs. Peacock in the hall with the knife or whatever, right? Well, when you watch the Clue movie, if you caught it in theaters, you saw a different ending depending on which country you were in. They filmed 3 different endings. So depending on which, for East Coast, Central, and West Coast, as I understand it. And depending on what theater you were in, depended on which version of the ending you saw. Now, if you buy the DVD or have the tape of it, all 3 endings are shown at the end of it. But they actually filmed 3 different endings, and one of them is how it actually happened. I was listening to a podcast the other day, and they mentioned how they intended to have different endings. Yep, there are 3 that they did. And each one could pass for a legit ending of the game. Ending of the movie. But there's one that was how it actually happened. Pretty cool yeah, it's a great concept, especially for think of the production cost to do that, because you're not only are you shooting 3 different versions, but you're shipping out, because remember, these aren't DVDs being sent out. These are film reels that had to be made and shipped to the theaters in containers that had actual film. So you had to produce different versions of a completed film with a different ending and send them out across the country. Which is absolutely bizarre. Like, that was a really big deal, and honestly massive production costs back in the the 80s when they did that. What was it, 89 when they did that? And it was an all-star cast. How would film reviews of that work? I don't know if it was public knowledge or if they released a press statement saying that there were different endings. I don't know, because I wasn't alive when that movie came out. I did not see it. That movie is older than me. But today, that would be interesting. Your reviews would depend on what part of the country you're in. But yeah, Tim Curry is the butler. I remember seeing an interview with him about Rocky Horror Picture Show. And of course he plays the transvestite Frankenfurter. And when they were doing the clothing and the makeup and everything, He said that none of the outfit felt quite right until they got him in heels, and then everything just came together. But a fun fact about that movie was it was shot in 24 hours on a $1 million budget. That was it. They shot the entire movie in 24 hours. Basically, they just had all of the sets built, set up, ready to go, and they just went and filmed it. Couple episodes of Criminal Minds, yep. Tragically, Tim Curry, a number of years ago, had a stroke, and it's pretty much limited him to a wheelchair. Part of his face is paralyzed, but I've seen interviews with him and things where he's made appearances. He's still very much got the same Tim Curry wit. He was the Prince of Darkness. Very few people will ever, very few people will be Robin Williams. Nobody could be Robin Williams. Nobody could be a Tim Curry. It's just not going to happen. You're going to have people that are going to be close. You're going to have people that play excellent bad guys. Jeremy Irons is another one that plays excellent bad guys. He was the voice of Scar in Lion King, the animated one. Among a lot of things, but that's where most people would casually know him from, as the voice of Scar. There are some people that just play excellent bad guys, and that was Tim Curry. And I think he's got one heck of a legacy behind that he's got going on, and will always be known for. But a number of movies on my shelf have him in it, and he's got such a good presence and such a defined look with the really defined features in his face, especially younger Tim Curry, and the very distinct British accent that he had, that he became just a pop-up character. He would make cameo appearances in other movies, and it was like, oh, Tim Curry for like half a second, and that was it. He might be like a bellhop or a concierge at a hotel or something. Something just in the background, be like, oh, that's Tim Curry, and this is like the longest Team Rocket section of a game in any Pokemon game. Doing the whole tower and then coming here and then going back there. He was Nigel Thornberry in the Wild Thornberries, the animated series. That's right. Yep. Yeah, now that you know that, you hear the voice. He did a lot of animated stuff. But I guess, when you have a voice like his, that's a call that you're going to get, I'll tell you what movie I just watched yesterday. I didn't realize I hadn't even seen it in a long time, but I was on Disney Plus and I was looking around and I watched The Great Muppet Caper. And that movie was so self-aware and broke the fourth wall like crazy. And it had so many guest appearances from people, and it was so funny. Oh man, I remember seeing it as a kid, but I also remember, I don't remember most of the jokes that were in there, and I know I didn't get them, years ago. So if you haven't seen The Great Muppet Caper, I'm a sucker for the old Muppet movies. I watch The Muppet Christmas Carol every year. I'm actually really disappointed in the Disney version, or the version on Disney Plus, because they cut out what is one of my favorite songs in the whole movie. That if you have the DVD, it's in there, and it's the Love Is Gone. It's like this tragically heartbreaking scene, and it's the only song that Michael Caine sings in. And he just does a little bit, but it's phenomenal. But the whole piece, I mean, the piece just about makes you cry. There's so much heartbreak in the song, but it's so fitting to the character of Scrooge. And it's so appropriate to the type of story they're telling in that I was really disappointed that they cut that out of the Disney Plus version. It was either the Disney Plus version or the Netflix version, but one of the streaming services cut it out. I think I might have been watching the Netflix one at the time. But yeah, definitely one of them for sure cut it out, and I remember watching it going, that's not right. Like, that's one of my favorite songs in the whole thing. Plus, it's the only part Michael Caine sings in. And he actually, you don't think of, when you think singing, you don't think Michael Caine. But it's... Another feeling I was disappointed when what they did to Scar's Be Prepared song in the live-action Lion King. Yeah. I'll tell you what I was disappointed in. Controversial. I was disappointed in the live-action Mulan. And here's what I'll tell you. As a movie, ignoring that it has a backstory, ignoring that it has a previous history of an animated film, ignoring all of that, I was really I could enjoy it as a movie if I just kind of turned off that part of my brain that remembered the animated version that I watched with my daughters all the time, right? Because there's no songs. They took out Mushu, who was kind of an important character because it was the whole spirit guide thing. Aside from the fact he was comic relief, he was also like the spirit guide sent to yeah, they took out all the great music. And they left in lyrics from the different songs at different points, but they were just spoken, and it just didn't have the same feel. So I think if I had seen that movie without having seen the animated, I could see where it was good. And if I just kind of turned, like I said, turned part of my brain off, but it was like something trying to be Mulan meets Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, which is fine. But it had the high-flying wire kung fu, typical kung fu stuff. You know, and it's the other thing too is the live action Aladdin I was actually fairly okay with, and I was okay with it because Will Smith didn't try to be Robin Williams. I was worried that they were going to try, even though he did the same songs, it was still very much Will Smith. You know, the same way Robin Williams brought his own personality to the character, it was still Will Smith, and I was okay with that. I was good with that. There were some other parts of it that I wasn't quite as crazy about. I thought the whole genie fight at the end was not as... I felt like that could have been better, personally. They took out my favorite part in the live-action Lion King. Dress and Dragon do the hula. Well, that's what happens when you remove Billy Crystal from a film. That was actually the first time that Nathan Lane and Matthew Broderick was adult Simba and Nathan Lane was Pumbaa. That was the first time they had worked together, and they went on to do the Broadway version of The Producers, and then after they did the Broadway production of The Producers, they did the movie The Producers together, playing the same characters. And The Producers is one of my favorite Mel Brooks films. It is so irreverent and so funny. I remember watching it in theaters, and I think I actually fell out of my chair laughing so hard. What if Billy Crystal played Genie? Oh, man. Oh, what if Billy Crystal played Genie? That's really hard to imagine. I think Steve Martin would be funny as the Genie. But he's kind of out of the same era of comedy and ridiculousness that Robin Williams came out of too, with the voices of the characters and the kind of just the general silliness, being a wild and crazy guy. I think Steve Martin would have been hilarious as the Genie. I think he could have done it. Rowan Atkinson, Mr. Bean, was the animated Zazu in Lion King. And if you've never seen it, on Amazon Prime, Blackadder. Old Rowan Atkinson. There were 4 seasons of it, and it is hilarious. My favorite is the 2nd season of it. But yes, Blackadder, it's out of that, it's classic BBC comedy. If you like Monty Python, if you like, if you've ever seen a bit of Fry and Laurie, it's in that same vein of humor, where a bit of Fry and Laurie was British sketch comedy, while Blackadder actually had a story, a plot, and characters. But yeah, Hugh Laurie and Stephen Fry both are in the Blackadder series from season 2 forward. A lot of great British comedic talent in there. So Amazon Prime, Blackadder, watch it. It's hilarious if you like British comedy. It's nothing like Mr. Bean. Night and day to Mr. Bean. Houndour is so adorable in this. It just looks like this little angry puppy. Well, we've certainly shared some stories this evening, giving a very slight glimpse into my youth, what I can remember of it. So I appreciate everybody who has been commenting and following, and I appreciate everyone who watches my stream. Houndoom. Yeah, Houndoom would be nice to have earlier, because Houndoom is kind of OP. He's super fast, very powerful fire type, also dark type. So you have that going for you too. Now we have the Rainbow Wing. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge, go to Ekritique City. Ekritique. Yeah, we saved the station. I'm gonna heal up and take a safety save. So here's the whole thing with Ho-Oh. Which is what the rainbow wing is for. Alright. Because I don't remember. Critique City. North. Wolf Angel. I forgot to mention earlier that I'm wearing my Pokemon Trainer shirt. You'll have to post on Facebook or something later on what that is. Like what it looks like. Probably. I don't remember if this is gonna put Ho-Oh in front of me or not, but I should at least get some Ultra Balls just in case. See if they sell them here. If not, I'll have to go get some Great Balls. I don't use my bike. When I was in Japan, I went to the Pokemon Center in Osaka and bought a dope shirt that has Pokemon Red Blue tile sprites in the shape of Bowser. That is awesome. Come on. Nope, not call. I'm actually really jealous. Japan is on my list of places I want to go. Beautiful country, kind of pricey. I've heard that. I've definitely heard that. I really want to go back to, I want to go back to Belize, and I want to go back to Trinidad. There's a lot of really beautiful country and cool stuff to see in Central America. I was there for 2 weeks in January, right before the pandemic. Nice. It's awesome. Is there a mart here? Is there a Pokemon mart? Yeah, I really miss Central America. Belize was gorgeous. Had a hotel right in the jungle, overlooked a river. I mean, it was right in the middle of the jungle. It was a really cool hotel, great food. Mooglenator, gotta get dinner ready. See you for the next stream. Thank you for joining Mooglenator all night long. I appreciate it more than you know. I will see you next time. When I was, and then like the second half of the week I was there, I was in the ocean with swimming with sharks and stingrays. Went open ocean snorkeling. It was amazing. Got to see Mayan ruins while I was there, and got to climb Mayan ruins while I was there. Really wanted to go to Guatemala, right next door, but they advised us against it. They said that it wasn't safe. I guess there was something like some kind of civil war or something going on over there, and we were told that if we got stopped, that the U.S. government would not come and get us, and we would be be on our own to get out. So we just avoided going to Guatemala. Could see Guatemala though. The Mayan ruins, one of the ones that we were on, was so tall that you could actually see the border and into the next country, which was about 5 miles away, I think, from where we were. It's pretty cool. Trinidad was gorgeous. Tobago was even better. Same country, 2 islands, if you don't know. I actually had shark for the first time in Trinidad. That was back in 2002. On my list of places to go back and visit. It was also one of those things where American money went really far because of the exchange rate at the time. In 2002, it was 1 of our dollars was 7 of theirs. And if you paid with American currency, like, you got really good deals on stuff because it was worth more overall if you just paid with the US dollar. It was like that in Belize too. The tour guide that the touring company that was hired to help book our trip to Belize, told us, they were like, yeah, just tip everybody in American dollars. And so I remember giving like a $20 bill to the tour guide that we had every day that we had him, and he was our best friend. And one day his wife made lunch for us as kind of a thank you. Yeah, it was a beautiful country. Also eye-opening, because both Trinidad and Tobago and Belize are essentially third world countries. They rely on sugar exports and tourism for pretty much their entire economy. I wonder how they've been doing with the pandemic, now that I think about it. Now that cruise ships haven't been running. I think I'm going to get some Ultra Balls and then probably finish my stream for the evening. I want to say thank you to everybody who's been on my stream and hung out with me, because I think this next part's going to take a little while, and they don't have them. Alright, so we'll just get a bunch of Great Balls. Get like 20. Alright, we'll do that. Alright guys, I'm going to go ahead and finish my stream. I want to thank everybody who has come out and hung out and chatted with me and listened to me tell stupid stories and laughed at me and laughed with me. I want to thank you all. And if you aren't familiar with Geek News Now, you should head on over to geeknewsnow.net. Check out all of our amazing articles and content that comes out every single week. Go on over to our YouTube channels, both of them. We have Geek News Now, as well as a YouTube channel dedicated just to our streaming, GNN Gaming. Go and look them up. Also, go into our Facebook page, where we have contests, giveaways, and you can follow what we're doing. And if you ever think that maybe this is something you want to be a part of and you want to come join us over at GNN, we are always looking for gamers and writers and creative people just like you to come be a part of our team. So head on over to Geek News Now on Facebook. Send us a message if that's something you're interested in. And take care, everybody. I will see you next time on my stream when I stream. And be well. Good night.
You